Oh, here we are. It is the Cigar Professor. It is the project. Yes, it is the cigar that sounds like B-grade anime. That is what we're smoking tonight. But I can tell you, it does not smoke like B-grade anime. It definitely smokes like A-grade anime, and that's because Ramon Bueso, although you may not know his name, has been a stalwart of the industry for about 40 years. This bloke knows his stuff. And he's been involved in the blending of a lot of cigars. You've probably smoked a bunch of his stuff without even knowing it. He has consulted for a lot of different brands. Again, you've smoked that brand and gone, oh, hey, I really like that brand, without even realizing that what you're saying is, I really like Ramon Bueso. That is what we're having tonight. Ramon Bueso, Genesis, the project. Now, I find this fascinating because here at the Cigar Professor, we're all about trying new things. And something that has come up actually very little until now has been the Connecticut Broadleaf. Now, the Connecticut Broadleaf is named Connecticut, just like a Connecticut shade is, because of the US state, Connecticut. That's where it was found to be indigenous, and that was where it was cultivated. It's grown in lots of parts of the world now, but that's where it was found. But the Connecticut Broadleaf is an entirely different tobacco, could not be more different, quite frankly, than the Connecticut shade that we know and love so well here at the Cigar Professor. So that's why this can be called a Connecticut and still have that color. This is actually a Connecticut Broadleaf Maduro. And that is not a contradiction in terms when you understand that the Connecticut Broadleaf is its own genus of tobacco. It has no relationship, apart from being tobacco, it has no other relationship with what we call the Connecticut wrapper or the Connecticut shade wrapper. I love the simplicity of this. I mean, the band itself, yeah, okay, it's slightly embossed, slightly metallic writing or what have you, but it's actually like, it's a really, really, really simple, clean, modern sort of a design on this really rustic, veined, slightly toothy, not a lot of tooth, but veined dark Maduro wrapper. I just really like the way this whole thing comes together. So, welcome to the Cigar Professor. Thank you for watching. Daniel, good evening to you too. It already smells amazing, and I haven't even lit it yet. This is considered to be the ultimate Ramon Bueso cigar. This is considered to be his absolute pinnacle, his finest work. And it's a cigar that initially was actually only really available as a Central American local sort of cigar, being distributed between sort of Nicaragua and Honduras, etc. And then people sort of discovered it and went, hang on, this is good. Like, this needs to be distributed internationally, and hence it is. But it's something that often sells out. So I'm not going to, it's not a limited edition in the sense of, like some of what Damo has dug up for us, where you're just not going to you'll never get it again. That's not this. You probably would be able to find this if you really wanted to, but it is something that sells out pretty quickly. So enjoy it. And yeah, what a great smell. All right. I am flying solo at the moment. Damo, unfortunately, is doing some recovering. He's had some surgery. He's had some medical issues, nothing super serious. So don't be too worried about him. In fact, if he does stick his head in at some point tonight, make sure that you hang a lot of shit on him, because that's what mates do. But yeah, he's recuperating, having had a bit of surgery, and it looks like unfortunately, he's not all the way through yet. He's going to have another round of surgery. So that's unfortunate. Omar is just being lazy, his usual self. He's not here yet tonight. So I'm terribly sorry to tell you that you're going to have to put up with me and my commentary tonight. Now, I'm going to be cutting a straight cut. This is right for a V cut. You could clover leaf punch that, do 3 different punches in a clover leaf if you wanted to. I'm just going to straight cut it. And being a Maduro, I expect it to cut very clean. And it certainly has. Just a little bit of resistance there in the draw. Pretty much spot on. Pretty much spot on. It's a really light hay. Some slightly mulchy, slightly earth tone sort of notes to this. But really clean. Like it's a good, clean smelling cigar. And a very, very good one by all accounts. So let's get lit up. Let me know if you're smoking one of our subscriber packs, if you've got this exact cigar tonight, or if you are in fact smoking something from your own collection. Let me know, and we'll compare notes and have a chat and enjoy doing that tonight. Lighting up, as always, trying not to get too close, although this lighter, I think, is low on gas, so it's not quite... yeah, there we go. Speak of the devil. Come on, buddy. All right, come on. Just trying to toast this foot for as long as possible. So apparently, according to Daniel, apparently Omar is watching. He's just decided not to join in. That's probably got something to do with the fact that I never posted the link, you know, and I'm just kind of like, it's just kind of a gentle way of saying fuck you, you know, just sort of, you know, oh no, I forgot. Oh, what a shame, you know. It's just a good way of doing it, if you know what I mean. You know, and just sort of without having to tell him, you know what, Omar, I just don't want to have to put up with this tonight. It's just a good way of doing it, if you know what I mean. You know, and just sort of without...
Are you okay?
I was.
What about me?
I was doing real well.
You what the hell's going on?
That's what I'd like to know.
I sent you my video being stuck behind.
I was going to have a great night, and now here we are. Just saying. Hashtag harshing my mellow. Hashtag losing the vibe.
Hashtag you always here. Hashtag you're the best. Hashtag you never miss a show. Hashtag you go through everything to make it to the show.
Here I am.
That's hashtag. What the fuck?
Here I am trying to give you a night off and just being so gracious and so kind to you, and you just have to gate crash my party. So I'm just saying, that's like, nice, you know. Man.
That's not nice.
I was actually just saying, just before you jumped in, I was saying I actually literally only remembered just now that
you didn't post the link.
I didn't post the link. So it is entirely my own fault. But that's not going to stop me from hanging shit on you.
That's cool. I don't mind.
Have you lit up yet?
Just about to.
Mm.
How's your light up?
Gorgeous.
Oh, really?
Just gorgeous. So light. Such a fluffy sweetness in this cigar. Just this overriding sweetness. It's not distinctly anything. It's not distinctly caramel. It's not distinctly popcorn. It's not distinctly any specific sweetness. But boy, this is just an absolute joy. So light, so sweet, so but chewy. The smoke is chewy. I lit it up once. If you're trying to light it slowly and you're not just, you know, absolutely smashing it with the heat. This one didn't need that. Perfectly happy. And what a beautiful, beautiful opening.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Wow.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah, like really pronounced sweetness. And you guys are often banging on about the sweetness. And I'm like, I thought that was pretty savory. But this is sweet. That's got a lovely sweet note to it.
Yeah, definitely. Very sweet. No spice whatsoever. Just beautiful sweetness.
Going to start here.
Mm-hmm.
See how it goes. If it's not quite right, I'll switch to a bit of this, which I'm having for the first time as of yesterday. I may have gone a bit hard. But that's a lovely, lovely drop. So I've got that as my backup plan in case this isn't quite the right match. But this is just the Edredor 10. What are you drinking?
I just actually got home. I'll send you a video of being stuck behind. There was an incident on M5. So what I did, I followed a fiery truck.
Yeah, right.
I sent you actually a video of that. I was following a fire truck to be able to make it. But
look, I appreciate your commitment. I do.
you want to read that?
That's somersault cola with pear and lime. Sorry. I misread that. Sorry. It's somersault. I'm a complete wanker. That's what it says. That's what it actually. That's not the words that it uses, but that's what it says. Why do you do this to me, Omar? Why do you do this to me? Like, I'm trying to have a serious cigar show here. I'm trying to educate people. I'm trying to entertain people. I'm trying to, advertise my masculinity and manhood. And you're just coming in here with like pear drinks. Come on, man.
You have to be the most, powerful symbol of, that man with muscles. Ooh, that dude. Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend. I know, right?
Yeah.
I know. I'm glad you can see it because I certainly can't. Cigar Man Sam, welcome. Always a pleasure having you along. I was about to start calling up. This is how desperate I was because Omar hadn't showed up. Side note, it's because I didn't send him the link. But let's put that aside. It was completely irresponsible of Omar, and he was derelict of duty, and he didn't show up. And I was thinking about who I was going to have to invite onto the show. And Cigar Man Sam, your name popped into my head. And I went, no, but he's going to make me look bad with all of his cigar knowledge. And then I was so desperate, like I was scraping the bottom of the barrel so hard, I thought of Aaron. And I was like, I could invite Aaron on the show. And then I was like, no, hang on. He's going to blow smoke rings that make me look like a schmuck. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it solo. I'm just going to do a solo show.
You definitely didn't look at the messenger.
No, I did not. Look, our dinner ran late. I got 2 kids and a third one due in only about a month and a half. So yes, family time got hectic, and no, I have not actually looked at my phone in probably the last, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah, I sent you a message about 45 minutes ago. Watch.
Well, conveniently, I didn't see it. I've worked out what that is on Omar's face. The amount of tobacco in his system, he now has bloom.
Can you see my phone?
Yeah.
Watch this.
Topher, that's me driving an M5. There's incidents, and I'm behind. I'm tailgating this fiery, so hopefully I'm going to be a bit more quicker than that, man. This is not looking very good. It's like being in a car park.
That's 45 minutes ago. So I followed him through.
Yeah, right. Well, look. I hate to say this because you know how much I love hanging shit on you, but that is commitment. That was some creativity and some commitment, and I got to respect that. However, I do agree with this weirdo who shows up from time to time. Pyro to be, I don't know, just some ass who comes and trolls the show. But actually, for once, I agree with him. I think he's actually got a good point here. That's not a beard on your face. That's bloom. No. I think that's a brilliant observation.
He thinks it's funny.
He's spot on. The question is, does it come off when you rub it with your finger? That's the question. It doesn't. Well, then it's bloom. Yeah. Otherwise, it'd just be mold.
Mold. So, it's not mold.
Yeah. No, I think that's good.
Mold. Yeah. That's a real deal. Mold.
Excellent. All right. Well, Honor the Point is here. He said, I have a stupid lamb breech. I assume that means a U is lambing and the lamb is in the breech position. I can't get it to hip out. I even bought a cigar. Yes, it's raining. Yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry. That sucks. I hope it all works out well because that can go very wrong. Good luck. Good luck, mate. Yeah. Daniel, I could have invited you. The problem with you is that you smoke slower than me. And because we've made such a big deal on this show about the need to smoke slowly and how, as a good cigar smoker, you smoke slowly, that's a bad reflection on me. So, no, fuck that. I'm not inviting you on the show. You're gonna make me look bad. So, no. Stuart Hollingsworth is in a pickle. Yes. Are you also Honor the Point, Stuart? Is that you as well? Like, are you just watching on multiple devices at the moment?
Yeah, it sounds like he's playing some games.
No, I don't think he's playing some games. I think he's got some genuine trouble and some genuine work on his hands, but he's switching between devices or something like that, I think. But I'll let him reply in due course and let me know whether that is actually the case or whether I've got him mixed up. Stuart, obviously, I know well, but yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, so that's him as his YouTube account, Honor the Point, and then Stuart on Facebook. Well, good luck, mate. That's yeah, a lamb in breach. Yeah, good luck.
Mhm.
Better you than me, mate. I would not want to have to deal with that crap.
Yeah, that's right.
All right,
That's
where are
right.
you at? Where are you at with this cigar?
A little bit of a strange burn, but it's very tightly packed. It's very tightly packed, this stick. I find it to be a little bit dry.
Okay. The draw was, it was still within the range of good, but it was on the tighter side of that range of good.
It's been good. It's amazing. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect draw for me.
But I think your comment that it's a pretty tight pack, I think is correct. I think there's a lot of tobacco in this stick. It's quite firm under the fingers. It draws just, it's got a bit of resistance there. It lets you know. It's exceptionally well made, but it lets you know that there's a lot of tobacco in there.
I've got a very sweet, herbal, touch spicy note. You could say aniseed, but that sort of note just come through. And all of a sudden, it gives you a mouthful as well of that very deep herbal note with sweetness in it.
Yeah. So on the nose, on the dry, as I just got the aroma before we lit up, there was that hint, and it was only a hint of a pickle, pickled gherkins or that sort of a note to it. And it was quite distinct, but slight. And I'm wondering if that's going to come through at some point in the actual flavor profile.
I see what you're talking about, the whole pickle thing. Yep. On a slight retro, I got that. I was doing that weird retro.
Certainly not strong. It's not strong, but on the nose, it was there. I think it's almost there in the foot smoke still.
It's definitely there on the nose, yes. And I would say this, that I don't know how to articulate that, but it's a very distinctive cigar. It has its own very unique character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm trying to correlate to something, but I can't.
Yeah. So I think Daniel's onto something here. I'm getting that really dry, dusty cocoa powder. That sort of, if you dropped a bag of cocoa powder and it went poof up into the air and you breathed in that cloud of cocoa powder, like there's a certain amount of that to me.
Yeah.
Dry and dusty. There is the vegetative note. But you're not wrong. We talk about the Cuban tang. Obviously, pack 2 of the Cigar Professor was an all Cuban pack, and we talked about the Cuban tang ad nauseum. They have their own kind of distinctive flavor that sets them apart. This, I think you're right, has its own kind of distinctive something.
Character. Now, it has its own character.
Yeah, it's very early days, so we'll see how it develops. But there's definitely something there that's a bit out of the ordinary.
Definitely out of the ordinary. I'm trying really hard, but I can't pick that flavor. It's very strong. It's becoming strong. It's herbal and it's sweet, and it's one of those aniseed / star anise / cinnamon area. Those kind of herbs.
See, I don't think I'm in anything strong enough to call an aniseed or a star anise. I think the vegetative note that I'm getting is less sharp than that. And doesn't have that kind of licoricey sort of undertone to it, but nor is it celery. It's not at that completely bland vegetative end either. It's far from there's something mulchy in there for me. This is what my palate's telling me. There's something a little bit mulchy. It's nice and it's chewy. It's sort of there's a texture to this cigar that I'm quite enjoying personally.
Yeah, it's almost to me there's a bite to it like rocket leaves, like a slight rockety bite.
Yeah. See, that I get. That I can come with you on that.
That after bite it's almost that same, but prior to that, on the mouthful, it's got this very herbal sweet note. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So Daniel said, I'm going to go on the limb and say sweet the The spice is a red spice. I'm at least with you on that. I can see where you're getting that from. It's not. I wouldn't have called it that. And my cigar or my palate, whatever it is registering that a little bit differently. But now that you've said it, I can see where that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
No, for me, to me that's not the dominant flavor at all. But there is. If I was chasing the spice and trying to nail down what it was, it would be a capsicum spice, a paprika spice, something in that red family of spices without being chili. Well, you're just drinking from the bottle now. Classy.
Had to.
Yeah. This is what I love about you. It's what I love about you with your class.
Dude, I'm lucky I actually made it. And that was that 10 minutes behind that truck.
Mate.
Made a whole lot of difference.
Mate, the word lucky must mean something different in your dictionary to what it does in mine.
Yeah, you don't have a dictionary.
I was looking forward to, just flying solo for a night, I mean, screw that Damo guy. Like, he's got to go and have surgery and shit. Like, how weak is he? Like, surgery? Come on, who needs surgery? Just die in agonizing pain like a man, right?
Yeah. Smoke a fucking cigar, bitch. You like that?
I was just thinking, I've got rid of him. If I can just get rid of you, I just won't post the link, right? Yeah. It was a perfect plan. And here you are.
Oh, damn.
So yes, I love that Pyro to be is saying that you gave away these ashtrays. No, Pyro to be is very much a part of the team. Now, I actually can't show you the branding in the ashtray because, well, let's just say I'm putting my ashtray to good use. But in the glass in there is the name Ramon Bueso. And this is, in fact, the Genesis, the project ashtray. Now,
beautiful ashtray.
Not that Pyro to be would know, of course, because he's just some random YouTube guy. But Pyro to be, could you let me know whether we actually still have any of these in stock? Because I believe these were being given out with any order above $1,000. I believe was the deal. So let me know if we've actually still got any of these left, and then maybe I can send an email this week and just push that a little bit. See if we can get another order. Cigar Man Sam says, friends, I assume you're doing like a marathon of the TV show or something. I'm just not quite sure. Not quite sure what you're referring to. He's trying to tell that he can spell. But he's also got his caps lock stuck on.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's just like, seriously, dude, like fix your keyboard,
Yeah. Or get a new one.
Pyro to be all gone. Okay. All right. So they are all gone, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't get one when I sent the email out a couple of weeks ago, you've missed out. Tough luck. Gonskis. You got to be quick.
Oh, yeah.
So this cigar's got a couple of good rings in it. I've not managed to aim one at the camera yet, but it's had a couple of good rings in it. And I am just loving that flavor profile.
Beautiful.
I mean, sure, first third, okay. I mean, with this, we're barely past the opening, but I am loving this flavor profile.
What size is it exactly?
You would ask me a question like that, wouldn't you? Let me dig up some details for you here. It's going to take me just a minute to do.
MC, are you like, what the fuck?
Hey?
Nothing. Don't worry. Just do the fucking job.
Yeah, I never worry about you. I worry that you're going to show up again. But beyond that, I never worry about you. All right, what are we doing? This is a Ramon Bueso Genesis. Just going to have to scroll through here. In fact, I'll use a find. Ramon. Find next. Okay, so this is a 5.5 inch by 50. So, yeah. So I mean, a typical Robusto is a 5 by 50. That's kind of your absolute stock standard Robusto. So this is an extra 1/2 inch on that. That's what she said.
Was that she an actual he in some point?
I operate on a don't ask, don't tell basis.
What an operation that is. What an operation.
I have a theory that what I don't know won't hurt me. It turns out when you don't know that there's a bus about to run through the bus stop, that can still hurt you. I found that out the hard way.
Yeah, I could tell. I could tell the way you speak, the way you talk.
Okay, speaking of which, all right, so you can hardly see it, right? But there's a whole bunch of red dots on my thumb. Those are actually puncture wounds from a dog, not my dog. So I was out walking and 2 dogs were loose. They were obviously like pets. They weren't wild dogs. They were well-groomed, well-bred, all the rest of it. But they'd gotten out somehow and they were kind of their own boss and making their own rules. And they saw my tiny little toy excuse for a dog, toy poodle, 16 weeks old. Like the thing's tiny. And I saw them, like one of them just locked eyes on Emmett, my dog, and just started crossing the road. And I was like, oh no, okay, this isn't going to go well. So I scooped up Emmett into my arm, and then the dog sort of came up and it wasn't like a vicious wild dog attack, but he came up, he had a sniff, and then he just went chomp, and he got my thumb and he got Emmett's butt at the same time. And he just latched on. He wasn't letting go. And, so some years ago, actually, a very good friend of mine gave me some life-saving advice. He said to me, listen, if you're ever attacked by a dog, a finger up the butt will make it let go straight away. Right? And so here I am in this moment. I've got this dog latched onto my thumb, and my Emmett is yelping. And this memory has gone through my head of like a finger up the butt. Okay, I can do that. I can do a finger up the butt under the circumstances. But it's a big dog and it's sort of pushing me around a little bit, and I'm trying to keep my footing and blah, blah, like sort of it's hard to kind of work out the logistics. But eventually I kind of had this moment where I'm like, okay, I can get my finger up the butt. And so I shoved it in. Dog didn't care. So I shoved it in deeper, like I'm all the way up to the knuckles at this point, right? And the dog just couldn't have given a shit. So I'm wiggling, like I'm doing everything, and it couldn't give a shit. So I managed to eventually, like I threw the dog off, and I'm like, eventually just sort of got rid of him. He ran back across the road. I gave him a kick. He ran back across the road. I get home, I disinfect my finger, and I ring my mate, and I'm like, dude, that advice did not work. He says, what advice? I said, years ago, you said to me, if a dog attacks you, a finger up the butt will make it, let go. And not only, like, I got my finger all the way up the butt, and not only did it not let go, but then I had to fight this freaking dog with my pants around my ankles.
Topher. Hey, what kind of a breed was it? I know it's a stupid question, but
look, honestly, I don't really remember. They were both pretty thin, tall dogs. Wouldn't surprise me if they had a little bit of greyhound or a little bit of something like that in them. But they were well looked after, and look, we found out who the owner was, and all that sort of stuff. So look, it's all good. I believe now they've figured out how the dogs got out, and they've resecured the fence and everything. And I'm glad they went for my dog and not for my daughter, who's 2 years old. That could have worked out. That could have worked out very differently. But like I said, they're not wild dogs. They weren't predatory. They weren't wild.
Damn.
I've dropped out. I'm back. Sort of. Am I
back?
Yeah,
you just came back.
All right. So it wasn't sort of predatory. It was just I think it was just wanting to assert itself in the pecking order. Now that it was kind of the leader of the pack, it was out, it was free. It was like, who's the leader of the pack now? It's me. I think it was just that sort of going on.
Yeah.
But yes, for those of you who are wondering, the finger up the butt was a joke. Okay. That was a joke. I was leading to a punchline where I'd misunderstood and I stuck the finger up my own butt, but I suspect that most of you didn't get that. So I'm going to have to rework how the joke works so that the punchline is more effective in future. Thank you for being my guinea pigs and coming to my TED Talk.
Speaking of that incident, Topher, just a question. I actually got two questions about the incident. So just about this dog story specifically.
Yeah.
Not about the cigar, just a dog. The last week, what computer were you using? And today, what computer are you using?
Same computer, my old PC.
Yeah, okay. That's a good point. That's a good point. Throw the fucking thing out. Get yourself a Mac.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure internet connectivity issues. So I don't know about you guys. We've had bucketing rain. We had a river running down our street, literally the street in front of the house. Thankfully, the street is set down, I don't know, 1.5 meters, a meter maybe from the actual house floor level, because the street was awash. It was more than 50% covered in water just running down. With all the rain that we've had here, it was crazy. So unfortunately, what I've noticed when that happens down here, a couple of things happen. We lose TV reception when there's a lot of heavy rain. I just think we're sort of, our reception's a little bit mud. I'm talking like free to air, like a schmuck, actually trying to pick up a signal via an aerial. Like, who does that? But we do. And that goes to crap as soon as the rain gets heavy. But also there comes a point, every single heavy rainstorm, there comes a point where our internet just goes to crap. And I reckon there's a box somewhere that fills with water or something happens. And then our internet speeds just drop off a cliff.
Roger.
Have you had the rain?
Man, we haven't had that rain like what you guys are having. I mean, we had the fair share, at the beginning and the middle of the year, but it has been raining, but nothing like what you're talking about.
Yeah. Back to the cigar. I don't know what you're talking about, Daniel. What cigar? Isn't this a show about like dog attacks and fingers up bums? Isn't that what our show is about? I see you've lost your ash. Well done.
I was trying to take the wrapper off and it didn't work too well.
Well, I'm just going to go with user error, obviously.
Yeah.
Tim, I hope you got all 5,000 of those flyers delivered around Hillsville. Thank you very much. Otherwise, get back out there in the rain and the wind and the falling trees.
David posted a comment about the dog earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, David made a good. Yeah, David. So David's a vet. He actually knows what he's talking about, unlike me, who's just trying to be funny. So David says holding the dog's back legs up by the tail works better. There you go.
Imagine doing that to one of the bull breeds.
So Tim tells me he hasn't done a single flyer, mate. I just so disappointed. And Stuart's in your corner, Tim. Poor Tim. Oh, poor Tim is coming out in the dark and pissing rain to drag this lamb out. That's an hour and a half away. Wow. Okay, that's commitment. All right, Tim. I will credit that. That's commitment. Now Daniel's in Albury, so yeah, this is the problem. Shepparton's already got a lot of problems, and north of Shep especially, there's been some really bad mismanagement of the floods, and we've got infrastructure to deal with floods. Now, sure, no matter how much infrastructure you have, it's still possible for a flood to be too big, to be too much. But that's not what's happened yet. The floods haven't been too big, but they've been really badly managed by the powers that be. And we've ended up with a situation where levee banks that didn't need to be overwhelmed have been overwhelmed, and water is just pouring out from these levees just onto like huge, vast areas of land, drowning cattle and drowning sheep, and like it's bad. It's bad in some places. It's not good. So my thoughts are with all of you that are dealing with that right now,
dude. I think East Coast really had the fair share. It's last year it was horrific. What happened parts of mid-north coast of New South Wales, the deaths and it was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I happened to be I went on a road trip with the family up to Brisbane and then back down via the coast, and it just so happened we were passing through at the same time as those rains, or just a few days after those rains, and it's devastating. It's one of those things that you can't unsee when you're driving through. I can't think of the name of the town, but it was one of the towns that just got absolutely smashed. And we were going to come down via the coast, but the coast roads were cut, so we had to go inland into. Oh goodness, I'll think of the name soon. I took a video, and here's all these people, house after house for street after street, hundreds, if not a couple of thousand homes where they're literally just walking through the house, picking up absolutely everything and turfing it out onto the lawn.
Wow.
And then going back into the house and ripping the plaster off the walls below, like up to the height where the flood was. They're just ripping the plaster off the walls. And then they're having to get the right sort of chemicals and stuff to treat the studs and everything else. Because what happens, of course, is the sewage. Yeah, Lismore. Thank you, Daniel. Lismore, that's where I was. You know, and the sewage farms flood. And so it becomes black water. It becomes sewage water that's being washed through your home. And as a result, even once the water's gone, the types of mold that just appear everywhere, like it's the nastiest mold, and it'll kill you if you don't treat it. Like if you tried to keep living there and didn't treat the mold,
of course.
So they're literally just throwing everything out. It's not even a matter of, oh, no, it'll dry. No. They're throwing everything out. And then they're ripping the plaster off the walls and they're having to treat the studs. And a lot of places just end up getting knocked down. It's just not recoverable. Yeah, it's horrible. Like I've never experienced it myself. And so, you know, sort of, oh yeah, floods happen. Okay. Yeah, that's really sad. And then you kind of see it and you're like, oh, like the reality of this is a little bit different to what I sort of thought. And yeah, that sucks.
Horrible.
So a couple of years ago, I began warning that, in my opinion, we're headed for a wetter and colder 3 decades than what we've seen over the last 70 years. So the 1900 to 1950 was colder and wetter than what it was from 1950 to 2020. But what we've seen happening with the sun and solar activity especially leads me to believe, and it is only an opinion, that the next 30 years at least are likely to be colder and wetter in the southeast of Australia. So anyway, if you draw a line from Adelaide to Brisbane, everywhere to the southeast of that, I believe for most of the rest of my lifetime is going to be a bit cooler and a bit wetter. And I started calling that a couple of years ago before all these rains appeared. I started calling that, and I'm not going to say every year is going to be wet. You know, of course, there's going to be variation. We could still have droughts. But I think if you were to draw an average over the next 30 years, it's going to be colder and it's going to be wetter than what we've seen, what you and I are used to. All right. Cigar Man Sam wants to spoil the show by having us actually talk about the cigars. I'm at the end of the first third. I'm pretty much exactly on the end of the first third. It remains incredibly light. This would have to be one of the lightest Maduros I've had.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think not only it's a light, fluffy smoke, but the body isn't there. The Maduro to have a body, and a body isn't there.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably predominantly to do with the filler that's been used in that.
Sure.
But I would still say it's a beautiful experience. It's absolutely beautiful experience. I'll smack 10 of them if I can.
Well, I can see why people fall in love with it.
Absolutely.
I would also say, though, as someone who's, I've smoked a decent range of cigars over the years. I'm not the world's most experienced, but I've smoked a decent range. When I pick up a Maduro, I want that fuller body. That's why I'm reaching for a Maduro.
Yeah. Now, in that ballpark, sorry, if I cut you off, Topher?
No, you go.
A flash, just like a thought came to my head as you were describing the Maduros. And I know you're a fan of flatheads, but the classic Maduro that makes me think you're actually smoking a Maduro, my limited experience of cigars are two, they would not go away.
Sure.
It would just not go away. Number one is the 20th anniversary Maduro. I had the Gordo.
That's the Perdomo.
Massive stick.
Yeah.
And secondly, Master Blend 3 by Oliva. Now, that is a Maduro stick, and they're both box press, and they go for ages. I'm saying 2 hours. They're 6.5, almost 7, but they are like 58 ring gauge, and they're very tightly packed. And they just yell out at you, I'm a Maduro. I'm a Maduro. The full bodiness and the feel of it. And absolutely. And this is
for me, as you mentioned, the KO Flathead 554, that's the ultimate Maduro for me. That just suits my flavor profile, my tastes to a T. The 660, little bit too bold, little bit too much.
Yes.
Right. The 554 probably only goes for about an hour and a quarter.
Yeah.
And for me, it's absolutely spot on. And if I'm reaching for a Maduro, Maduro, the oils and everything else, they're usually a bit sweet, but there's a lot of flavor. They're bold. They're not shy. Whereas this one I feel like is kind of holding out on us a little bit. I feel like I'm waiting for it to kick in.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. This cigar, and at the very beginning, I thought I was smoking this cigar. I'm like, wow, this is not relatable to what I've done before. Probably because of the loss, we don't remember, but more so being a Maduro and being lighter, it's very unique in its own right. It's super unique. Yeah.
Now, I think that's probably because it is a Connecticut Broadleaf Maduro. Now, Broadleaf is a tobacco that gets used as a binder from time to time, regularly enough.
Absolutely.
It'll get used as a binder. It's not often that they will use the broadleaf as the wrapper.
Yes.
And I do wonder. So the filler, they've got 3 different fillers in this that come from Honduras and Nicaragua. Yep. They have the binder comes from a very specific valley in Honduras. It's a very sought after valley. The name, but I don't remember. But I had it in the show notes when I posted about it, so you'll find it there. And then this wrapper is a Connecticut Broadleaf Maduro. And that, I think, is probably why we're finding this really distinctive sort of profile to it. Yeah. Very, very different to what we would expect. It's not, it's not a Maduro in the normal sense of the word. It is a Connecticut Broadleaf Maduro.
And I think every time we had a broadleaf, I think the broadleaf, it's rough, but it can age well. And it's often very, very gentle, and it's very enjoyable.
I'm a fan, to be honest. The issue is the word Maduro makes a certain promise.
Yes.
If I was blindfolded and handed this cigar, I'd be sitting there going, "Wow, is this like a light Cameroon?"
Yeah.
No, that's where my head would be if I was blindfolded and trying to get, because it's got the cacao. We talked about the dry cocoa powder earlier. It's got some of these flavor notes that are reminiscent of a Cameroon. But when you pick up a Maduro, it makes a certain promise. And I just feel, it's, to use a stupid analogy. Do you remember the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend?
Yeah.
Right. In my opinion, a very good movie. But they made a mistake with the advertising. In the advertising, they gave no indication that it was actually a zombie flick.
Yeah.
Right? It was a survival movie in the ads.
Yeah.
And then you watch it, and for the first however long, half hour, whatever it is a survival movie. And then all of a sudden they introduce the zombies.
Yeah.
And I can remember when I was watching it for the first time, I was like, oh, don't turn this into a zombie movie. Like, I was enjoying it as a survival flick.
Right, yeah.
Right. Now, if they'd said to me, hey, here's this great movie with Will Smith, it's called I Am Legend, and it's a zombie survival movie, then I wouldn't have had a negative reaction.
Yeah.
But I had a negative reaction because my expectations were set differently.
Expectations were different.
And that's my issue with this. I think if I can blank that out, I think it's a very, very good cigar. But my expectations were set differently.
I think more so. I think because cigar industry and the definition of various different vitolas, cigars, wrappers, it's so blurred. It's always crossed the line. It's always going to cross the line. I mean, Maduro technically is used for a wrapper that is dark. That's all. I mean, from very definition that gets thrown around cigar circles is a dark wrapper, whether it's an aging process or how it's grown. Now, I think we have also discussed in a number of shows that dark doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a bold decision, because it's directly dependent on your filler. Your filler is going to dictate the body and the whole lot.
Yeah.
So we just think it's going to be dark, which is somewhat logical because that's what we're told. And then we have experience, which is the opposite experience. It's meh.
Well, I mean, Omar, you're somewhat dark. Are you full of flavor?
That's what I was told. Beautiful. Sweet.
I don't doubt it. I'll take your word for it. I don't need to try. So there you go. That's why it's just your expectations get aligned differently.
Yeah, it just means that I'm going to last longer. I'm going to be bolder, bigger, stronger, and perhaps more enjoyable.
So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Omar is fantasizing again. It happens from time to time. So I will say, though, as we've been talking and complaining about how light this cigar is, it has actually picked up slightly. I'm now settling into that middle third. I think the flavors are actually deepening for me a little bit now. I will note, though, that I'm having to triple puff.
Look, it's going a little bit stronger, touch. The flavors are a bit bolder, what they were before. And that deep note, I didn't think it was chocolate, but obviously there might be some of us had that chocolate note. It's getting more stronger. So the light fluffiness moved on to a bit more stronger profile.
For me, I think what's happened in my flavor profile is that vegetative note. It's kind of weird, but stay with me. For me, that light vegetative note is one step away from soft leather, right? You get your heavy leather, your hard leather, then your old leather, then you get your light leather, and then you move through to this sort of vegetative note. It's kind of the progression. And I think that vegetative note specifically for me has now deepened into a mid leather.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to go somewhat close to leather at some point, but there is definitely a distinctive dark vegetative or herbal note, which is quite unique. It's quite unique, and it's nice.
Yeah. So Pyro to be is trying to, I don't know, he's feeling like neglected or like just needs some attention or some shit. I don't know. He says, Ramon, the blender of this cigar. Yes, we know it's a Ramon Bueso, so it's all over the band. It's settled down, buddy. The blender of the cigar collaborated with Estelo Padron to make these. Interesting. I didn't actually know the Padron connection. And I'm a huge fan of the Padron cigars. And I could see some family influence there. A little bit. It's a different beast. It's not a Padron, but I could see some family influence there. Ramon is also blended for names like Punch, Hoyt, Monterey, Excalibur. Like I said in the opening, you probably smoked a bunch of Ramon Bueso blended cigars and not even known it.
Yeah.
Putting aside expectations, and I'm consciously trying to do that now, having had that conversation. Okay, that's great. Let's draw a line underneath that, put aside expectations, and just experience this cigar for what it is. This is a lovely cigar.
It's a lovely cigar.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, of course you would have it again. This is a beautiful cigar.
Yeah. Oh, I'd get a box of these, no question, and just try and smoke them one a month over the next 10 months or what have you, and just see how they progress over that period. I would definitely. It's not one that I'd necessarily stick away for 2 years. If they're ready to smoke, they're good for smoking now. But yeah, get a box and smoke one a month. Perfect.
Yeah. I would say this about Cigar Man Sam's comment: it's new word cigar manufacturing definition is not. So I think Cigar Man Sam should change his name to Cigarette Man Sam, because he should fucking stick to his cigarettes. So don't worry about fucking cigars, dude. Smoke your fucking cigarettes, whatever pack you fucking smoke, and you smell like a cigarette. Be a cigarette dude. Don't bother. Just don't bother.
Right.
Mind your
so from now on, we're just going to call him Winnie Blue Man Sam.
Ooh,
it's catchy.
Yeah,
it's catchy.
Yeah,
Winnie Blue
man.
Sam.
Winnie Blue. That's a touch girly. It kind of he's very like sensitive, new age, metro type of dude. So yeah.
Look, I'm just matching it to what you said you and him get up to at night. So I'm just going with what you said.
Roger that. I know where you're coming from. That's cool.
Oh, Daniel, such a absolute slight against Omar here.
Yeah.
Omar would smoke a box a week. Thank you very much. Don't insult him like that.
A week. That's
well,
$20.
Daniel said Omar would smoke a box a month over the next 10 months. No.
Yeah.
you would smoke a box a week in amongst the other cigars. Like you wouldn't be smoking these exclusively.
If he doesn't believe it, try it. Get me a box and I'll prove it to you.
Daniel, I know that Omar and I have this war going on, but you know what? Please don't insult my friends like that. That's a low blow.
Yeah, low blow.
So Tim must have tuned into my slow chat with Catherine Cumming MP. Is my guess. He says, this is much better. Last time I was on the road, I was listening to Topher talking about birthing. you poor man. And when you're driving, you can't grab the phone and turn it off either. Oh, dear.
Not good. Are you a midwife by any chance, Topher? You do have the vibe of a midwife or a doula.
No, I don't even want to be there when it's my own kid that's being born. I don't know why anyone would want to be there when it's like someone else's kid that's being born. So just for Tim, because I know Tim he's driving, he's heading across to help out his mate who's got a birth. He's got a ewe that's trying to give birth to a lamb that's in breech. So Tim's doing the drive, right? And he can't turn this off. And so I'm going to take full advantage of that. So Tim, I hope that you are listening very, very closely. Our first kid, the baby got Winston, my oldest, he got very, very stuck. And let's just say, thank God for modern medicine. 200 years ago, mother and baby would have both died. Like that's just how it was going to be. It was approaching 12 hours of labor by the time they finally called it and they went for the emergency Caesar. And things had gone well up to a certain point and then just had not progressed for hours. And then they kind of realized that the baby's heartbeat was becoming irregular and various other indicators that there was distress. And we ended up with a C-section, and even the C-section got messy. But thank God I came away as a father and a husband from that, because like I said, 200 years ago, someone in my position would have been a widower. So, thank God for modern medicine. But we then had the contrast. So there was that experience, which was very intense and very, traumatic to a certain degree. And then the next birth, they said to us, listen, you just got to go straight for a Caesar. Don't try and do a natural birth again. And so it was this opposite experience. It was kind of like, I felt like I was going into a car dealership to pick up a new car. It was scheduled. We showed up, we sat in the waiting area. They called our name. We walked in, and a little while later I was presented with my new car. Like that's what it felt like. It was just this incredibly, this incredibly surreal experience. I got to say, I like the car shopping better than the life and death sort of trauma. I'll take that any day. So no, I'm not a midwife, and I never will be.
Yeah. Where are we at with the cigar, man?
Cigar
no
man,
rings.
Sam. No Winnie Blue Man, Sam.
Yeah.
It deepened quite suddenly, and then it stayed there. It hasn't really progressed past that point. The leather has come in. The leather is still there. Beyond that, there's really not a lot to report. See, I always thought that real friends will help you to bury your body. Turns out, real friends will help to pull a lamb out of a ewe. That's what real friends will do for you. There you go, Tim. You're a real friend.
Look, I've just had a more cedary type of note coming through out of all this. It's gone a little bit cedar. It's got some kind of wood.
Where are you at? I'm there.
A bit ahead of you.
Yeah, okay. Because I've just had the introduction of a little bit of sharpness. That is, for me, that's the cedary type of flavor. Right. It's sort of vegetative with a particular type of quality that it's a bit more full bodied than just straight vegetative. and a little bit sharp. And so for me, actually, I would say literally in the puff where you said that flavor has come in for me too.
Yeah. I thought it would be a little bit slower burn than that. Despite it's tightly packed.
I'm with you. I'm with you. This is burning pretty fast.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, okay, so look, we took a little while to light up. It's been 45 minutes. It's going to go for another half an hour.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's
Yeah,
not bad
at all. I don't think it's bad at all.
Yeah.
They give you that.
Sorry.
It's giving you that perception that it's because it's tightly packed. It might go for a bit longer. That's all.
Yeah. And I've been triple puffing because there's just that little bit of resistance in there.
Yeah.
So I've consciously put it down. I'm going to let it cool a little bit, see what that does for the flavor profile when I pick it back up in another minute or two. Realistically, I've actually probably been over smoking it a little bit. Well, got to say, the Edredor going well with the cigar. But I'm actually going to switch once I drain that. There's still another shot and a half to go. I'm going to drain that and switch to this. This was a recent discovery for me. I hadn't tried it, and I'm actually a big fan. I'm actually really, really loving the Blair Athol. Stuart, you've been talking to my wife, have you? Couple of good rings in this.
I told us a couple of quarter half rings.
Yeah. So Stephen, I just did a straight cut. Actually, Omar, I didn't see what your cut was.
Straight. I often do straight. Yeah.
Look, it's my default. Unless a specific cigar has something about it that makes me reach for the punch. I don't even have I do have a V cutter, but I never use it. But yeah, by default, it's always a straight cut.
Yeah, which is standard.
Yeah. Good draw. A little bit of resistance, but a good draw. A good burn. Look, my burn has been wonky pretty much the whole time, but never so much that I've even had the thought that I might need to correct it. It's staying within the boundaries.
Yeah, it was a little bit, and then it just corrected itself.
Yeah. Well, Pyro to be is, so many rings I've lost count. I think he intends that to be a compliment, but as an aspiring Pyro, he actually has lost most of his fingers, so he can only count to 4. And then that's it. So, I wouldn't describe it as lackluster, Stephen. I was saying earlier in the show, and you've just jumped in, so you wouldn't have heard it, but I think in terms of expectation, I was expecting something with more body. And if I was smoking this blindfolded, I'd actually probably be enjoying it more than what I am having come into it with expectations, come into it with some knowledge of what the tobaccos are and what's in there. I don't think it's quite lived up to not the hype, but the pedigree. Let's put it that way. The pedigree of this cigar led me to expect something that was really going to blow me away. I genuinely believed that this was going to be a contender for Cigar of the Pack. At this moment in time, I'd say it's good. It might make my top 3 of the pack, but I wouldn't be putting it in the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's not changing the world. If that we were thinking that it's going to be massive, but I cannot fault it, to be honest. I have no.
Yeah.
I can't.
No. That's the thing. There's nothing wrong with it. And if I put aside my expectations, if I was out, let's say I was hanging out with you, Omar, and you were like, "Hey, I brought some cigars," which of course you do. You've always got some. And you were like, "Hey, do you want to have one of my cigars?" Now that would be rare because that's usually it's the other. You're usually sponging them off other people. And you handed me this. I'd be like, "Thank you for handing me a lovely stick."
Yeah.
Like this is a lovely stick. David's saying, I'm very impressed with this stick. Really pleasant up to the last 20% and then needed purging. No nicotine. It is a good stick. I just came into it really wanting it to be a great stick.
Yeah. I think that's where the trap we get into with the perceptive ideas about a stick. Rather stick, we just got to enjoy it on its merit. Just see where is it at. Some of the light sticks could be really strong, give you head spins, supposedly, and vice versa.
Yeah. Getting sharper now. It's moved beyond cedar now into, it's not a pepper. What is that?
Look,
there's a sharpness on the tip of the tongue, but I wouldn't call it a white pepper yet. It's not quite there. Not sure what to put that down to, but it's sharpening up. It's continuing to sharpen as I get further through. I'm now entering the final third.
I tell you what, it has that celery type of root vegetable note coming through, along with a little bit of cedar and woodiness to it. But the pepper that you're talking about, tip of the tongue, or it's very light. It's super light. You can't I got a hit of spice. No,
it's not a hit.
It's sort of light.
Yeah,
this lingers type of, and it's very pleasant.
Not quite sure what to make of it, to be honest, at the moment. Heading into the final third, I'm really hoping that the body is going to deepen and it's going to kind of give me a bit of what I was looking for the whole time in this final third. That's the middle third there in the form of ash. I lost my ash pretty much at the end of the first third.
Yeah,
it was about where I dropped, and then middle third, you can see it in the ash there, and I'm entering the final. And I really want this just to deepen up and give me something.
Ooh, it's got a whole lot stronger for me.
Yeah.
It just, the whole thing got amplified a little bit.
Yeah, good. Oh, okay. Well, I look forward to that. That's kind of what I've wanted the whole time.
Yeah.
Getting physically a little bit warm, so I'm going to put it down again. I may be over smoking it. I'm just kind of, I think because I'm chasing something. I can't put aside the fact that I want more out of this cigar. I think I'm probably over smoking it a little bit, so I'm going to put it down. Have some black tea. Have some whiskey.
Yeah, good combination.
I've tried so many different teas now, and I keep coming back to the cheap-ass Tetley's black tea.
Yeah.
Well, no, Lipton black tea.
Yeah,
like Lipton, you buy it from Coles for it costs like 4 cents per tea bag or something like that. Like, forget all this tea. What is it? The T2, $1 a tea bag kind of nonsense. Forget all of that.
Yeah, look, I'm into all this specialty stuff, but that traditional Lipton yellow label thing, it is the real black tea.
It's the right tea for a cigar. That's the tea for a cigar. Yeah. So Pyro Bees actually said something intelligent for a change. If this cigar had a light Connecticut wrapper, how would you rate it? That's really interesting, because as soon as I read that, before I put it up here, my brain went instantly to the Monte Cristo white label. Right. This is actually a close cousin, flavor profile wise, in my opinion, to the Monte Cristo white label. I would say if the white label had a Cameroon cousin, this is what I would expect.
Really?
And for me, that's a compliment. That's not a bad thing, right? I rate the white label. I think it's a fantastic cigar. And if they came out and said, hey, here's the Monte Cristo Cameroon, brown label instead of the white label, I'd be sitting here going, yeah, Yeah, this is great.
Mm. Speaking of Monte Cristos, my favorite Monte. I mean, I tend not to have non-Cuban cigars with the Cuban names. It doesn't sit well with me.
You're one
If
of
I've
those
had,
snobs.
yeah. But in saying that, in saying that, Monte Cristo White is one of my favorite Connecticut sticks.
It's a great cigar.
Yeah, but the Monte Cristo Gada we had, that was a gorgeous stick. However, my everyday Monte Cristo would be Monte Cristo Platinum that we haven't had.
We've not had in the packs. I've had it, but we haven't had it in a pack yet.
Yeah, and that is a one hell of a stick.
Yeah,
that is one hell of a, and it has the same wrapper as a lot of the Padron uses. It's almost the same wrapper, same area, Maduro wrapper. They don't call it Mexican because it just devalued them to some extent.
Yeah,
it's a wrapper, and it's absolutely a gorgeous cigar.
Yeah, it's funny how we know that Central America produces, and the Caribbean. The Central America and the Caribbean produce the best tobacco in the world. There's a few examples elsewhere in the world that can compete with it, but they're the exception. A really good Indonesian Sumatran can compete, right?
Yeah.
A really good Cameroon can compete. Yeah. But by and large, most of the really great cigar tobacco comes out of Central America. But the minute you say Mexico instead of Nicaragua, you instantly assume that it's inferior. Yeah. It's this really weird mental thing.
Yeah.
I feel like this is why I'm over smoking it. I feel like every time I put it down, it tries to go out on me. I actually feel like I don't trust it.
Really?
Yeah, you know how some cigars you just know it's going to stay lit. It'll stay lit for 3-4 minutes, just sitting there. And then there's other cigars that just suddenly they go out on you. They're fine. Bang, they're gone. And I find I just don't trust this one. I feel like it's going to do that to me. I put it down for 2 minutes. I pick it up and it's like, oh, hang on, quadruple puff, 5 puffs, 6 puffs, just trying to get a bit of a response out of the cigar. I'm going to bring up the list of what we've had so far in the pack. And let's talk this through because I'm kind of curious. Actually, there's a good comment here. So Daniel's saying that vegetative note is picked up for me. Actually, I think it's that pickle flavor you were talking about at the start. I think when the sharpness came in that final third for me, that was probably where that pickled vegetable kind of flavor, the pickled onions, pickled gherkins sort of did come in for me.
Yeah.
Now let me just find, I've got it here somewhere, I believe. No, I don't. All right, I'm going to have to pull it up on my phone, I think. Okay. It's going to take me a minute.
That's all right.
No. No. It's on my other computer. I don't have it here with me. Do you have the list?
Let me. I think it was on the messenger somewhere.
Yeah, it was a while ago, though.
Let's check.
We've talked a lot of shit since then.
We did, as we do.
It's what we do best.
Yep. Let's find a handy spot for this one day.
Okay, picking up. Okay, so that has developed into pepper. There's now, without question, it's a white pepper.
Yeah.
Tip of the tongue. It wasn't there a centimeter ago, but now that's definitely there.
Yeah.
That burn's getting quite wonky on me now. Not quite ready to touch it up just yet, but I'm going to do a couple of purges just to try and get the heat back to the parts of the tobacco that haven't burnt yet.
Can't find it.
Very vegetative. The flavor profile is picked up. So I've got what I wanted. I got what I asked for. I said I want it to get stronger. It definitely has.
Yeah, it has.
It's coming through, but it's mostly vegetative. Even that leather is kind of backed off again now. It's really, it's pepper, it's vegetables, sort of mixed vegetables, and for me, not a lot else at the moment. They're really the two dominant flavors: white pepper, and vegetable.
White pepper and vegetables.
Yeah, it's not a bad combination, but it's not what I expected.
I would say there has a fair few distinctive notes that I can't put my finger on for sure. Like for sure, for me personally, I'm struggling with it. There's nothing so dominant that goes, okay, that's that. It's just not happening. Didn't have much transition, obviously. It kept its main ballpark sort of profile. Apart from the light up, it was super sweet.
Yeah, the light up was really, really sweet.
Yeah. Powdery sweet. Fluffy, powdery sweet.
It had the dry cocoa at the end of the first third.
Yeah.
And for me, that was probably the pinnacle of this particular cigar, was around about the transition from the first third to the second third. That's where I think this was at its best. And I'll keep smoking it all the way down, but I just don't think that this is a cigar that's going to reward smoking all the way to the nub. I just get the sense it's just going to become sour.
It's giving me that fresh grass, like a really fresh grassiness. You know, when you mow the lawn and it's fresh, that smell with the hint of herbal mintiness, and there's obviously the leather is not there anymore.
No, it's gone.
It's a vegetative sort of thing, and I'm actually enjoying it. It's good.
Yeah, okay. Look, I'm finding it's actually cleaning up. It's really interesting. This doesn't usually happen with cigars. The pepper has died away a little bit now. I just corrected the burn a little bit. I think part of the wrapper had gone out on the high side. And having just touched that up a little bit, the celery has actually come through really clearly.
Yeah.
It's a clean celery.
Yeah, it did. It was a moment where I had for a little bit of celery note in there, and it disappeared.
Mm.
And it happened to me while I dropped my ash, actually.
Yeah, okay. Now, in terms of construction, I mean, we both lost our ash relatively early, but now, like, look at that. That's a stack.
Yeah, it's a beautiful stack.
It's got good construction. It's got good integrity. There's a lot to like about this cigar, but not a lot to love.
Yeah, fair.
I haven't fallen in love with it. It's good. I'd have it again. No question.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Oh, that was a good ring. Sadly, it was off camera.
You missed it.
You just have to take my word for it. It was amazing. It's still going. Look at it. It's going to cross the road. No. So it's not uncommon to get really uneven burn right towards the end. For whatever reason, as you get the stem and so forth down towards the end of a cigar. And that's definitely what I've got here. And with that being so low and so close to my fingers, it's not even really worth touching up. So I think I'm almost going to have to call it.
Yeah, me too. Almost there.
That's interesting because you were ahead of me for a while.
Yeah, then I slowed down a little bit. You went real fast.
Well, I feel like this side that's burning fast has just gone. Like, I feel like the whole cigar should be there. But for whatever reason, this side has just gone bananas on me.
Yeah.
And there's no obvious reason for that. There's no obvious stem or anything on the outside, but it's definitely that side wanted to burn.
Um, our uh, our friend Pyro, or whatever the dude is,
Oh, you're being
sent
very
us a
nice,
list.
calling him a friend.
Yeah, sort of.
Nah.
So number one, we had the Crux Limitada. It was an amazing stick.
Yeah.
Then we had two Hammers.
Mm.
Then you had the
They were
little
good.
Oliva,
Yep.
Monte Cristo Espada, Brick House, Alec Bradley, and now we had this Genesis.
The Brick House and the Hammer and Sickle Connecticut, I think, would be my picks so far.
I think Monte Cristo. I think we all admired the most. I think
The Monte Cristo Espada, I think, was the one that we all kind of universally agree that was head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the number one of the pack. So I'd say the Espada in number one, Hammer and Sickle, and
Crux.
the other one, the Crux, would be fighting for second and third.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't put this on the same level. I don't think this has made the top three.
No, it wouldn't. But what you got left is a Padron, the last cigar Padron.
That's an amazing stick.
Yeah.
That's the 1964.
Yeah.
That's an amazing stick.
That's right. Natural. I think that's going to be one hell of a stick.
So that'll be the contender. It'll be a question between that and the Espada to see what takes Cigar of the pack.
You also have Southern Draw, the massive stick as well. That's another interesting one. Second last.
Yeah.
We got Popped. Caldwell, Macanudo. That's what we got left.
Yeah. No, look, some good sticks in there. But I feel like we should have held off on the Espada for later in the pack. I think.
Yeah.
Should have kept that towards the end. It's definitely going to be a contender.
Definitely.
Well, look, I've put mine down now. I'm going to let it rest. Good cigar. I'd have it again. I wish that I'd come into it without knowing anything about it. And Damo talks about this sometimes. He talks about, actually avoiding reading reviews and avoiding knowing anything and just being able to smoke it on its merit. And I do feel like this is a perfect example of where I would have enjoyed that a lot more had I come into it knowing nothing.
Yeah, obviously I never ever read a review before doing a cigar ever.
Sure.
Years ago I did a little bit, but then I thought, it's too complicated. The person who smokes a cigar, where they are, what they eat, blah, blah, blah. And then their bias attached to it as well.
Yeah, that's right. And their palate. And you smoke it in warm weather versus cold weather. You smoke it depending on what you've eaten, depending on what you're drinking with it. Like there's so many variables. And there's also the company that you're with. And as much as I'd love to use this as an opportunity to insult you once again, I'm actually not going to this time. But there is a reality that if you're with other people smoking the same cigar and they're loving it, that will affect your assessment of that cigar. It's psychological, but it's real.
And it happens all the time.
Yep.
Without realizing.
It's cigars are a lot like a bottle of wine. It's about the environment that you're in, the people that you're with, all of that. You'll have an amazing bottle of wine with some friends and on a great night out, and then you'll have it again later, and you'll be like, "Huh, What was so amazing about this?"
Yeah.
What was amazing was the people you were with, and that moment in time is what was amazing. So good cigar. Not in the top three. Interesting. I'm glad I had it. It's one of the ones that it can be hard to get. So again, thank you to Damo for sourcing some of these sort of not strictly limited edition, but it's not a common cigar. And so thank you to Damo for giving us that experience. Daniel's saying that his is burning better at the end than it did at the start. Good. I'm glad to hear that, Daniel. And Daniel is also very, very good at smoking very, very slowly. So he's probably got another hour ahead of himself finishing this one off. He says, yes, I always enjoy my cigars better with a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
100.
Well, I'm going to say an hour and 10 because we didn't light up straight away. It was a little while before we lit up, and I put mine down a few minutes ago. So about an hour and 10, about right for this size cigar.
In the pack, I think, apart from the 4 cigars we mentioned, 4 cigars to 2 hammers. I did like the Natural as well, Espada, and Crux. I think that's after that, and I think it is still a good cigar.
Yeah, it's a good cigar. It's a good cigar.
Most certainly it's a good cigar. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
But we're also, we're being sort of relatively picky here on the Cigar Professor now. I mean, we're nearly 2 years in to the Cigar Professor. And as a result, there's quite a back catalogue there of really spectacular cigars that we've had along the way. And so in the context of the Cigar Professor, when you put it against that, you say, well, look, it's a good cigar, but it's there is no pack in which that would have been the number one. No. There just isn't. Of the 8 packs we've had, it wouldn't have made it. Wouldn't have made it as the number one cigar of any of the packs. That's not to say that it's a bad cigar. It is what it is.
Yeah, and also I think we often are overcritical. If I said that rightly, we overcritical just because we can. I think just because we can.
Sure.
On a night where you're having shit cigars, shit Cuban cigars, which are 90% of Cuban cigars, I think this would stand out. This would be.
I would take this. I would take this over more than half of that Cuban pack.
That's right.
Right. I would reach for this every single time over at least more than half of those cigars. For sure. For sure.
Which I think before we sign off, I think we have dropped a lot of subscribers and more thinking about this Wednesday thing.
Yep.
And I also think it would be slightly more successful for sure. It could be greatly successful, but I think the drop in our packs is not primarily because what you guys or us as a team doing wrong. Is more so also that the whole entire economic circle is squeezed a little bit.
Sure. Look, people are cutting luxury spending. And let's be honest, cigars are a luxury item. No one needs them. I mean, maybe you do. I'm not sure. I think you need oxygen and nicotine to survive. For normal people, we're not necessarily in that situation. But I think you're right. And Damo's not here for me to double check with, but I believe the plan is that as soon as we switch from pack 8, which is what we're in right now, we've got a couple of weeks left of pack 8. As soon as we switch to pack 9, we're going to be switching to a Wednesday night instead of the Friday night. And I do think that'll help with viewer numbers. People are busy. People have other places to be and things to do on a Friday night. It made sense during the lockdowns, but that's over now. So thankfully, so I think that'll help. And then Damo and I will just we'll talk about it. And we'll figure out what the future of the Cigar Professor ought to be. All options are on the table. Do we switch to a once a month? Do we keep going with the once a week, or do we maybe just ease up and actually just go, hey, let's get together once a month and make it a bit more of an event each time that we get together, etc. So all those options are on the table. We're talking through that. If you've got thoughts on that as a subscriber, send us a message at the Facebook page, the Cigar Professor Facebook page, and give us your thoughts on what you'd love to see us do going forward. And obviously we've got thousands of cigars in stock at some of the best prices you're going to find anywhere. So obviously that's not going away. That's going to be available to you regardless of what we decide going forward. But look, it's been a lot of fun. These last 2 years has been a lot of fun. I've certainly smoked a lot of interesting cigars, courtesy of Damo, who has been sourcing them for us. He's, even for me, I've smoked widely, but he has put in front of me a bunch of cigars that I would not otherwise have had. Right. And that's been really, really good. All right. Well, without further ado, that was the Ramon Bueso Genesis the Project. Yes, it sounds like it's an anime television series. It's not. It's actually a cigar. And that was what we smoked tonight. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope, at the very least, you learned something about what you like and what you don't. And we will see you again next week on The Cigar Professor. Thank you very much for joining us.